So guys, better buckle up because Dame Dash just set the internet on fire after he went off on Jay Z for trying to silence Jaguar Wright. Dame said the claims that Jaguar made about Jay Z and Beyonce are 100% true, and that's the reason why they decided to send her a cease and desist instead of just suing her for defamation. According to Dame, they know Jaguar has receipts for what she's saying, and they don't want all that to be out in the public. Now, for those who don't know, Dame and Jay used to be real tight. They even partnered up to create the now-dissolved Roc A Fella Records. However, Dame distanced himself from Jay after he allegedly betrayed him and started linking up with industry creeps like Diddy and R Kelly. In fact, Dame is actually one of the people who believe that Jay was behind the death of Aaliyah, and it looks like he ain't backing down because he's now linking up with Jaguar and exposing Jay even more than he already has.
Well, how come they haven't sued Jaguar? She's outside still talking. With defamation, you know, even if you don't have any money for people to get, it still stops you from saying certain things.
This feud between Jay and Dame just got a whole lot messier, and we need to get into it and spill the tea. This fiasco started just a few weeks ago when Jaguar appeared on Piers Morgan's uncensored show to make some wild claims about Jay and Beyonce. Jaguar has been speaking on Jay for years now because she actually got to work with him at some point in her career, and she witnessed some of the things he did firsthand. She accused Jay and Beyonce of allegedly filling their unsuspecting victims up with illicit substances. And once they were unconscious from ODing on these substances, they would fly them over to their house to do unimaginable things with them. Jaguar also claims that there are bodies in Beyonce and Jay's house and that Jay had a hand in Aaliyah's death.
Publicly, Dream Hampton spearheaded the Surviving R. Kelly campaign, which fueled the Me Too campaign. And that was all funded by Sean Carter to make sure that Robert Kelly went to jail. Get his lick back. Why is nobody understanding that Dream Hampton was being financed and ran by Sean Carter? They were able to go and get all of these witnesses because he was there with Robert Kelly. How does Jay Z sit down with Gayle King and she not ask him one question about the intersection between him and Aaliyah and Robert Kelly? This is insane that people keep refusing to see what's right there. Thousands. I've talked to hundreds that I deal with still myself. I have 3 victims right now who are willing to give testimony about not only what Mr. Carter has done to them, but his wife as well. They're a nasty little couple. They do nasty things.
What do you think happened with Kim?
Keeping people against their will. Putting people on planes while they're unconscious, just like Aaliyah got on that plane. Unconscious. There's a lot of things that people don't want to talk about. You must respond. You have no choice. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Robert Kelly, Sean Combs have one person in common, professionally and privately. Sean Carter. This has been a fist of tyranny that has been punching through our culture and our society for decades. It must stop.
She also said that these are all things that Diddy would be revealing in court once the trial starts, and that anybody who thinks otherwise just ain't paying attention.
If he's cornered in the way that he's been now, that he may start revealing things about other people?
He has no choice. His ego and his drug addiction won't allow him to do anything different. Anybody who thinks he's not going to talk is crazy. The simple fact that he's not saying more now only means that the people who have been protecting him all along, who put him in position to be such a horror to the Black community, still find value in him. He's got everybody on tape. They all know it.
This interview really shook things up because this was the first time that Jaguar was making these allegations on mainstream media, which meant more people were beginning to take her seriously. And this pissed Jay and Bey all the way off. They immediately sent a cease and desist to Piers Morgan to basically take the interview down and censor his uncensored show. And he did just that because he ain't want no smoke with them.
The shocking allegations levelled at Sean Diddy Combs have burst the floodgates on salacious claims about an industry many people believe harboured a monster. Understandably, the internet's ablaze with claims about these events and whether other powerful figures were involved too. Well, last week I interviewed Jaguar Wright, a singer-songwriter who's made claims about Diddy for years. Those claims had already received a lot of attention in the media across many platforms for many years. And that's the thing about platforms. The reality of the modern world is that pretty much everyone has a platform as long as they have something to say that other people want to hear. That's why we invited her on to be interviewed. The people making these claims have an audience with or without shows like mine. Well, Jaguar Wright unexpectedly made several serious allegations about Jay Z and Beyonce during that interview. As I said in the moment, they were not present to respond or defend themselves, but now they have. Their lawyers contacted us to say that those claims were totally false and have no basis in fact, and we've therefore complied with the legal request to cut them from the original interview. Editing interviews is not something we do lightly at a show called Uncensored. But, like the proverbial cries of fire in a crowded theatre, there are legal limits on us too. And we apologise to Jay Z and Beyonce.
A lot of people, including Dame Dash, were not here for this. And Dame made it very clear in his recent interview when he was asked what his thoughts were on Jay sending Jaguar a cease and desist. He insinuated that Jaguar was telling the truth in that interview and that if she was really lying, they would have shut her up with a lawsuit instead of a cease and desist. In fact, he even went as far as bringing up the fact that Jay and his lawyer, Ben Shapiro, allegedly sabotaged his deal to sell his shares of Roc A Fella, and that prior to dragging him to court, they didn't bother sending him no cease and desist. They just slapped him with the lawsuit right out the gate. Apparently, this is how Jay moves, and he only sends cease and desists when he knows the person he's sending it to has the receipts to defend themselves if it's a lawsuit.
Thoughts on the alleged cease and desist Jay sent to Piers Morgan?
As a businessman and someone that has direct interaction with this particular individual, this lawyer, Alex Shapiro. Remember 2 years ago, I was selling my interest, my 1/3 interest of Roc A Fella Inc., which the only asset is reasonable doubt, as an NFT. It was completely legal. The only thing that would make it illegal was if I was trying to sell everyone's. And that's exactly what Alex Shapiro, as the lawyer for Roc A Fella Inc., did. Now, what's interesting about that is that lawyer never sent me a cease and desist. Because in essence, a cease and desist is just a warning letter, it's nothing. You don't have to send a cease and desist before you sue somebody. You just get right to suing. So my experience with this person is they never sent me a cease and desist. He just went right to court. I also know that that person accused me of doing something that I was not doing intentionally. So as you see where that case went, they threw it out. Because they accused me of putting it on the blockchain, as I said, and once it's on the blockchain, you can't take it off, it'd be right there. Then, yeah, that would have been wrong if I was doing that. But what it did do is it made it where it muddied waters and people wouldn't want to buy it. And while we were going to court with defamation, you know, even if you don't have any money for people to get, it still stops you from saying certain things. It still means that what you were saying was not true. There's no validity to it. A cease and desist is just a warning. But how come I didn't get sent the warning? And then again, as a businessman, I'm like, why would they do that? Like, why wouldn't they just sue him? Well, how come they haven't sued Jaguar? She's outside still talking.
He also went on to slam Jay for allegedly paying off TMZ to give him and Beyonce good press and put up unflattering articles about people they don't like, including Jaguar.
So when I see certain people in the press, they all have the same narrative, it becomes obvious. Like TMZ, you make it obvious that you have a relationship with them because you always make sure it's 100% of the time that whatever the narrative that they want, that's what y'all articulate. Y'all do it with me all the time. You gave the man an interview. You didn't ask him any tough questions at all. And then it's always Charlemagne. I want you, Charlemagne, to name one time that you've been objective when it comes to that team over there. Like, it just seems too obvious. And then, you know, there's certain other people that just never ever ask questions, and just it seems obvious that they're saying what they're told and they don't break down the logic. He's calling TMZ, he obviously is calling the Breakfast Club. There's a narrative that they went out there, but I don't see why.
This explains why there's been an agenda to label Jaguar as a mentally ill person, and this narrative started getting pushed around by TMZ. In fact, even after her segment on Piers' show, DJ Vlad, who's also very close to Jay, appeared for his own segment, and he completely dismissed everything that Jaguar said and labeled her as mentally unstable and a conspiracy theorist.
Well, Jaguar Wright is known to be a conspiracy theorist. I don't really co-sign anything that she says. I've never had her on my show, and I don't have any plans to have her on my show.
You don't believe her?
She had an album in 20 years, and a lot of this stuff is just stuff she's heard, things she's making up, and so forth. I'm not saying that there aren't serious things that Diddy may have done, but yeah, I can't co-sign anything that Jaguar Wright is saying, if that's your question.
People were not here for Vlad's dismissive tone, and they dragged him. Like this person who said DJ Vlad needs to be looked at seriously, calling Jaguar Wright a conspiracy theorist. Bro, everything she told us is unfolding right in front of our eyes. Always be wary of someone who labels another person as crazy. Another person said, something is up with this Vlad guy. After listening to him here, I think he was involved in this stuff too. He's minimizing this way too much. But see, this wasn't the only time that Dame spoke up for Jaguar, because in another interview he had not too long ago, he was once again asked about his thoughts on Jaguar making it to national news and making the wild allegations that she made. And he said everything she's been saying is true. However, she sometimes adds a little more information than what's needed just so people can pay attention and listen to what she has to say. He said some of the things that Jaguar says are things that he knows about, and he's been waiting to say them, but he was just scared to do it because folks would either think he was crazy or just hating.
Jaguar Wright being mentioned all over national news.
Well, things that she's saying, you know, the thing about her is, like, sometimes there's a lot of truth to what she's saying based on my personal experience. I'm not going to say she's completely accurate all the time, but some of the same things she said were things that I was actually thinking, but I was like, I could never say that because people would say I'm hating.
What's even crazier about this whole thing is that Jaguar is actually one of the few people who stood 10 toes down behind Dame when Jay sabotaged him and dragged him to court. She revealed at the time that Dame played a bigger part in Roc A Fella's success than what people actually give him credit for, and that he was the one who put the most amount of money into it.
Selling his Roc A Fella piece.
I think he didn't have a choice. And I think the feds want their money any which way they can get it. And I don't think Dame Dash is gonna make $1 off of that deal.
I mean, he's given a third of reasonable doubt.
No, you gotta understand this should be a lot more than that.
Yeah, it should be.
And guess what? He deserves a much bigger share for that album because he's the one that put up all the cash. You wanna know what's funny? Why ain't he claiming what he paid for? Maybe because he can't say how he paid for it.
Hey.
Everything that Dame Dash did for that company, he did to bring his people forward. And while he was bringing it in with a wheelbarrow through the front door, Jay Z was throwing it out with a fucking shovel through the back. And by the time he stopped to count up everything he brought in that wheelbarrow, he didn't find out that Jay Z had already shoveled it all out the back door before he got a chance to sit down.
Anyway, going back to Dame, he's been speaking on Jay for a long time, and the reason why they fell out in the first place was because of Aaliyah. Back in the day, when Aaliyah was still alive, Jay was allegedly trying to get in bed with her, and he showered her with all kinds of gifts. But she turned down all of his advances because she was in a committed relationship with Dame, and she was not going to leave him for Jay. This allegedly infuriated Jay, and people believe this jealousy led to him helping R. Kelly allegedly end Aaliyah's life.
Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who is a victim of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, who is a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened. And yet, they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know who did it. Think of the power of that moment.
It's clear as day that Dame has a lot more to say than he's currently let known, but he's scared to do it. I mean, he said it himself that the claims that Jaguar is making about Jay are things that he's been waiting to say, but he's held back from saying because he'll be called a hater. However, it looks like Jaguar's bravery is motivating him to speak up too, and him showing his support for her is the first step in him doing that. As usual, people had their own thoughts about this. Like this person who said, "Them labeling Dame as bitter is crazy. I relate to him so much because when you tell the truth, you're constantly labeled as being mad, angry, or bitter. That's BS though. The truth is the truth." Another person said, "When people are telling the truth that sounds outrageous to common people, they get labeled crazy over and over. So many have been pulling the fire alarm for 20+ years about this evil industry." But now I want to know your thoughts. What do y'all think about Dame Dash backing up Jaguar Wright? And do y'all really think this is going to be the start of him speaking out more despite folks calling him crazy? Y'all know what to do. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and don't forget to click here to watch this other very messy video. This is Hot Gossip. Bye.